All right, just switching headphones here. All right, we're going to give everyone a couple minutes to file in. I'm going to do a little book recommendation while we're waiting.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, if anyone if you have a relative who can afford like a $150 book, this is the one you want to ask them for this Christmas. It's called Dogs in Translation. And it is a very, very beautiful book by Katja Kraus and Gabby Mao. It's a unique journey of observation and interpretation of canine body language. And the old guide that we use, if you look up Brenda Aloff, Aloff, her body language guide is all like kind of cartoony sketches, doesn't really give you like the whole skinny. This book is fantastic. And one of the things that I was looking at today, because we were talking about body axis last time, like, how is your dog leaning? Do they want to be involved, or are they like, no, thank you? And this book just does a really great job of, as you can see, like over here, they draw those white lines through the dogs to just show their body axis. And then they talk about, like, this one is intimidated to indignant. And it's it's really rich. So if you're like a behavior nerd, they also do a lot of, they talk about communications with street dogs. Which I think is great. Like when we get to observe domestic dogs in situations that are less influenced by humans. Just saw this one. I'm like, oh, what is that? Walking in an arc. What does that mean? So if you have questions about behavior, I don't know if this is in libraries, but highly recommended. I got that from my father-in-law last year for Christmas. So the other books that I want to recommend to you, if you have not already, Control Unleashed by Leslie McDevitt. So Leslie is a great trainer who does a lot of work with agility. Like, that's kind of her background. She came in from the sporting world. But as it often happens, we have this idea like, oh, I'm going to do this with dogs. And then you end up with a bunch of anxious dogs, and you end up working fear, aggression, stress, and anxiety. This book is, it's got a lot of fantastic protocols in it, a lot of games. We're going to actually learn one of them. We're going to learn the 1, 2, 3 game next week. That's going to be our final class before our walk. So this is a fantastic guide. And then, did I have another one here? Gosh, it's like a mountain of books, sorry. Well, the other one that we talked about last week was Simone Ritter's book about harnessing the predatory sequence in dogs and like using that for play. And that kind of led into our conversation about when we look at our dogs and they are in these patterns of reactivity and kind of going up the ladder of aggression, right? What in that sequence is actually acceptable behavior? I will say, as a cautionary tale, we have been doing a lot of this with BG. BG, say hello. Barbara Tiana, that is Barbara Tiana Gordon-Wise, known to the public as Batgirl. She is tired because she worked today. So her reactivity, actually started with when we had Oswald. Hey, hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? How was your
Oh,
Labor
I'm
Day?
sorry. That was me on my, did you guys hear that? That was me on my phone saying hi, everyone, because we're still processing the video that we're using for tonight. So it actually auto played. Sorry about that. That was bizarre. So Oswald was super reactive to people unless they had a dog and cars. And BG picked up his car reactivity. So she's reactive to cars. And now, because we live in a majority Amish community, she's also reactive, allergic. She's very reactive, highly reactive to the horses and buggies, which I get, you know, and it's mostly from the car. So what we've been trying to do is, use the look, but when she looks, she also whines. So we've been accidentally reinforcing the whining. So now we're trying to finesse it. There's a lot of finesse in this reactivity work because I put a couple of clips of BG in tonight's video and you will see that she is a spitfire. Like, I forgot that one of my life rules is don't train her after 4 o'clock because she's still mentally bright and I'm I'm winding down for the day. My brain is winding down for the day and she's so fast. She just, we've done some great little Facebook lives with her where, I was doing a demo and we just had to wait for her to settle in and start working. Cause when she gets going, she's like, what do you want me to do? Come on, come on, come on. So if you have a dog who challenges you in that way, I feel you. All right. So I am going to actually, I'm not going to throw the lesson in the chat yet. I think we're just going to start with the video. So I want to talk a little bit first about cooperative care. Okay. One of the things that I did when I went through the fear-free trainer certification was learn a lot about stationing animals for veterinary procedures. Okay. So stationing just means getting them to put their body in a specific position that will allow you to do the things that you want them to do. And you really want it to be voluntary. You want this all to be voluntary. So the way that we use a lot of these things is there's a two-way communication. So for Oswald, when we had to vaccinate him, we did it with a muzzle, but we didn't do a muzzle and restraint. We actually did a muzzle and cooperative care. So he stepped onto the platform. If he stepped off the platform, we stopped. We did 3 repetitions with just a syringe without a needle in it and a little pinch and then some wet food. And he was able to do it. That is because, and only because, we built up enough trust that he knew that if at any time he felt overwhelmed and wanted to bail out, that we would support that. So I know that this is not maybe in the mainstream of dog training yet, right? We still have shelters who are hiring the dog daddy who just straight up abuses dogs. He's a fucking psycho and he's an animal abuser. And I hope someone puts him in jail. But at the very least, if you see him, speak out and say, that's not appropriate. If it looks like someone's beating a fucking dog and stringing them up on a leash, that's abuse. Okay. What is the norm is changing. We have moved into bigger conversations about this. Okay. But we don't tolerate any kind of stuff like that. We are way on the other side where we actually have conversations with the animal and we actually reinforce them for making choices that maybe aren't what we want in the moment, but are totally acceptable and are actually filling their needs, right? A dog isn't getting up and walking away from, delicious treats because like it's not arbitrary. They need space because they need a moment. How many people in our Zoom tonight ever have needed a moment? Yes, all of us. So I want you to understand that that some of the things that we're kind of using them in a different way, but that they have great applications if your dog is, say, fearful at the veterinarian. I will also say that when we see people training animals, it can like a lot of these things are cross species. Some of these things that we're doing now are coming out of larger animal care where like you can't string a tiger up on a leash, dog daddy. I would like to see him do that with an animal that could like best him because he'd be, I mean, probably so. We want them to cooperate because otherwise they could really hurt us. So examples, they had a tiger at Black Beauty Ranch named Alex who was rescued from a roadside zoo. He needed routine blood work. So they taught him to put his big ass kitty paw in a metal tray and slide it out and click and treat, mark and reward. They did that enough that, and those needles are tiny, so they don't really feel it, that they were able to station him and do that. Another, a chimpanzee, or I think she was a chimpanzee, rescued from medical experimentation. So she had been given diabetes. So she had to be kept on monitoring and medication for diabetes once she was rescued and released from that. So she needed to do a finger prick, and her favorite thing was this like stuffed animal milk jug contraption. So she would present for the finger prick, get her jug. They put in the time beforehand to teach that so that they weren't constantly re-traumatizing that animal. So if you have a dog who's struggling at the vet, I want you to also know during this time that we're together that there are better ways than full-on restraint. They're not easy, but a lot of times they're worth the work. And sometimes even doing part of the work gets you closer to it being a less traumatic situation. Yeah. All right. I'm going to go over here and grab my video link. Does anyone have any questions about stuff that we went over last week? Except for Angela, because we're going to read Angela's email right before we, or actually right after we watch the video, because Angela emailed me with the question today and I was like, wow, like, were you in my head today? Almost eerie, because what you're going to learn today, I'll tell you afterwards, like a little bit more about how we came to these protocols. But these are great, like functional things that you can teach your dog. All right, here we go. Pause this. And I apologize in advance if there are any glitches in this video, because I was very short on time today and had a couple of technical glitches, and you know how it goes. All right, this one is about 6 minutes and 15 seconds long. So let me paste this in for everybody. We will jump over and then I will see you back. Did anyone have a question about last week, or are we all good about last week? Oh, someone put it in the chat. Okay. All right, here we go. Here's your link. I will see you back here in 6 minutes. Awesome. I'm glad you liked the video. Pretty freaking cute. Yeah, Hugo was great. So, and then, so the email, I'm just gonna pull this up. The email that I got from Angela. So Angela takes Finn to a local cemetery, and when they arrive and leave, he barks his whole head off, even if nobody is there. He will eat treats and just resume barking until he gets out of the car or we exit the cemetery. There's also a place we encounter other dogs and humans, and he gets pilo erect. I'm paraphrasing. So how do we deal with this reactivity in the car? So the reason that I am teaching you guys this is because Hugo has this on point, and we actually use the armrest in the car. I'll actually play this. So I tell him to chill, and there it is. Beautiful. Beautiful. So what does that do? That buys me a little bit of time, and it gives him, this is still video. Yeah, he just like holds that position. So what it does is it creates a pattern of behavior where they know, oh, when this little scenario starts, oh, I know this one. Yeah, we do this, this, and this. What it does is it buys us a little bit of time to get them through that reactivity, because in the car, we usually can't get to them. We can't turn around. I can say chill and deliver a treat right here. So I think it's a very functional behavior. I hope that it is helpful, Angela, for your kiddo. You know, it's really about them being able to, like, remember how we talked about the engage, disengage game? That's what it's all about, is getting them to disengage from the triggers so that you have time to like do the life things. Calming caps. So calming caps are, they're okay. I think that you really need to desensitize a dog to them. Sight is not their primary sense, most dogs. So, but it does seem to tune things down for some dogs. But I would say if you need a calming cap, you might need B meds and to see a vet about behavior instead, because some of these things like calming caps, like lavender, the pheromone collars, what they do is they like make things. Oh, if your vet behaviorist recommended it, then by all means. And you can use the muzzle video. You can use the video from Muzzle Week to DSCC. That's awesome. I'm glad you got in at OSU. Use that Muzzle Week video as like a kind of plan to DSCC, to the calming cap, if you're not already using it, because then you'll be able to elicit that happy like state of being, instead of, oh shit, here comes the calming cap. And if you haven't seen a calming cap, Google it after this class. It looks kind of weird. It looks like a dog got a diaper stuck on their head. I've actually, there was one dog that Dina, I put a calming cap on Dina and she just froze. Like she just sat there and could not move. Good, awesome. I'm glad the muzzle training is helping. Yeah, I mean, it's all the same thing. And once you learn how to do DSCC, you can kind of apply it to anything. I have a new client at one of my behavior consulting gigs that is a dog who went to the vet, and now he like doesn't want to get in the car, and then he's fearful of the leash. So like, it's really, you know, this stuff really can mess up our lives. Sorry, catching up on this chat here. Love that picture of Zori. Sweet girl. She's doing it. Does it work when there's thunder? So does what work when there's thunder? The calming caps? I think the best thing for thunder is
Yes, when there's thunder, fireworks, that kind of thing.
yeah, I would recommend asking your vet about Soleo for if they are moderate or severe fear when there are loud noises like fireworks, things that are predictable, or thunderstorms. There are some things that you might be able to do to get them from that like yellow red into like a yellowish green. But the Soleo is a gel that is applied to the inside of the mouth, and it really works. I mean, it really works for noise phobia. But it is expensive.
Can you spell that out?
Sileo. And you can go to the Zoetis, Zoetis website. And I think they have a little like quiz to see if your dog is a good candidate for it. I would say the next level down would be Vet for Science makes a product called calming tabs that you can buy on Amazon. Hello Bully also has, if you Google Hello Bully fireworks, we have kind of a cheat sheet of things you can do. You can use box fans or ceiling fans because they actually cut the sound waves. So they decrease a lot of that constant sound. You can use music, you can use a crate with blankets, you can cover the windows, you can turn up the TV. You know, you want to exercise them early in the day. Like if you have fireworks that are planned, we always do like a big outing that day so that everyone's like nice and tired for our night in. And we just plan a night in too, because I mean, it just sucks. And sometimes there's nothing you can do to comfort them. But you can try. There's nothing wrong with, you know, consoling your dog when they're having a hard time. We used to say that that was reinforcing unwanted behavior. And then we like caught up with reality. Thankfully, we caught up with like what we kind of knew in our hearts anyway, right? Hooray for progress. So yeah, car anxiety is hard. And, you know, one of the things that you can do for cars is you can just make that part of your daily trip out of the house is stopping in the car. If getting in the car is too much, then you get a treat next to the car. Okay. You could, I use steps a lot, like an aerobic step, or I've also used at a client's house, for a dog named Remington, they had a gun case that was about the size of an aerobic step. So I use that, teach a dog to step onto that first step and then move that step to the car and have them kind of follow. You know, it's all about patterns. It's all about what does my brain kind of automatically go to, because I've done it 100 times before, and how that can help us get to the next thing. So, but car anxiety. And then when you get in the car, like you want to back out and go back in, and that's it for the day. You want to do it in tiny steps, like over a month. And then when you start going places, where do you think you're going? You're not going to the vet. You're going to the park. And you're going to get nuggets, you know, and chicken fries and ice cream and like whatever. We asked if a Dunkin' Donuts had pup cups when we were on our way back from vacation, and they gave us like full cups of whipped cream with a little munchkin on top. Yeah, right? So nice. So things like that, so that the expectation, and yes, it is a tough day when you have to cash in all of that trust that you have built and banked, but you have not broken it. You are making a withdrawal and you can build it back up. Okay. It is worth putting in the work so that our dogs have better experiences, because every experience leads to how we feel about the next experience. So and we just have so much influence over them.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think that that's kind of where we, like with his car anxiety, it kind of felt like that was happening. Like we had to kind of cash in, and it felt like we messed everything up because like he is so bad to the point where he will like cement plant himself like several feet away from the car.
yeah.
So like sometimes he has to go in the car and we have to just like make him go, and it sucks, but we're working
I
on
mean,
it.
I think it would still be worth doing. Like you could play like the ping pong game where they just run in to get a treat and run out. Um, and if you think about it from like a neuroscience perspective, the pathways are there. Okay. The road has already been built. Maybe you kind of veered off, but you can get back on that road. So just, I know it's hard. And I used to say, like, oh my God, I broke my trust with this dog today. Like and it does. It's hard. It's hard. And I am not a parent of human children. I've been a nanny and I've been in early childhood education. I cannot imagine what people have to go through when their kids need to be like restrained for stuff. I have a very dear friend who's going through serious medical stuff with her kid right now, and he is very fearful and he doesn't want to take pills. And like, it's just so hard to manage that. And, and to like just have our empathy always kind of like being wrung out like that. But, also love makes the world go round, right? So silver linings. All right. So, are there any other questions about what we talked about tonight? So I want to give you, Bubs, he doesn't want to get out. Well, the good thing is do you have a garage that's connected
No.
to the house?
No.
And that was like my saving grace when we had a dog here named Yoda who like we did car work for him for like months. And that was like the saving grace was that we had a garage that we could pull a car into and kind of like just let it happen if it was going to happen. Yeah, that it's really stressful. But I also don't think that there's anything wrong with like if your dog tolerates handling and you as the parent make a decision, this is actually going to be less stressful for you if I just like scoop you up, get you out, and we're going to go inside and have cookies and then we're done. I do think it's important to like weigh your options. And no, we don't want to force dogs to do things that are terrifying, but there's the real world. Okay. And like, we don't want to be so like judgmental and quick to jump to assumptions about people's intentions when they're trying to get through a tough situation with their dog. It happens. It happens. So, all right. So a preview or a little bit of extra homework for next week, and I will send out the email tomorrow, is that I want you guys to learn. I just want you to like research a little bit about back chaining and chaining behaviors. Behavior chains. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I forgot to do this. Thankfully, it's in my morning playlist. Chain of Fools by Aretha Franklin. Okay. Here's what happens is dogs chain things together that we're like, oh no, that's not what we wanted. No, that was not the thing that we wanted you to, the way that BG was barking in that video. And I had to kind of wait until I got one without a bark and like really, really reinforce that. I want you guys to just do a little bit of research about behavior chains. It will open your eyes to things about yourself that you might not want to know, but there you are. Okay. It's really important because our dogs have already created some very, very serious, heavy behavior chains, right? They see a dog, they flip shit. That's a behavior chain. And there's a lot in there. Like I've simplified it into a sentence. There's a paragraph or a chapter about what's actually happening in there. But I just want you guys to come back with questions about behavior chains, because that's how we are going to do a lot of problem solving. And we're going to teach you an exercise next week that's going to teach you how to back chain behaviors, which makes it easier to have some of the thought processes in your head that help you solve problems in the real world. Off topic, but can you recommend resources for separation anxiety? Yes, I absolutely can. Martina DiMartini, her book is called Marlena DiMartini. Marlena DiMartini.com. So she has a couple of different books on Amazon. And she also treating separation anxiety in dogs. And then the new one is separation anxiety in dogs. It's the cartoon of the dog at the window, teal type, orange stripe at the top and the bottom. That's the most recent one. She also certifies people for a fee. She teaches people to be CSATs, which is certified separation anxiety trainer. Separation anxiety is there's a lot to it. It's not just one thing. Departures is one thing. Karen Overall also has some great stuff on her website about uncoupling departures. And what I can say is, like, the idea is that you want to make them unpredictable and boring. Sometimes I leave for 2 seconds and I come back, and we're not going to celebrate. It wasn't a big deal. And that's hard for us, right? But us getting so amped up when we see our animals, when we come home, it doesn't help. It doesn't help. What we want is to do calm greetings and then save that sweet stuff for a little bit later, after everyone's like over that, oh, you're home. Oh, you're home is a calm time. We might even do a little bit of mat work or something. But the separation anxiety in dogs book, I highly recommend. I am often giving my clients information from that book, because there's just so much to it. Yeah, and that it's hard on the heart too. And again, I didn't know this. I'm sure I knew this. I'm sure I read this in psychology class, but I think I had forgotten that human children often also have separation anxiety. I can't even imagine. I cannot imagine. I mean, it's great that maybe they can articulate, but only to a certain degree, at what age. But my heart goes out to you, because separation anxiety is tough. I also think a lot of people have had great success with Reconcile, which is a slow release form of Prozac, if your dog does well on Prozac. So, all right, friends. Oh, she's on Prozac. Awesome. Yeah, well then maybe, if Prozac's giving you the foothold to do training, then I would work on those. And I think you can just, on Dr. Overall's site, you can just look up uncoupling departures. But the too long don't read is make it boring. It ain't nothing. And it's hard because dogs can read microfacial expressions, and they understand what's happening in us physiologically because we have created that bond. So it's hard to hide that stuff, but doing a routine, right? Creating a pattern of when you get home, we do these 3 things that take about 5 minutes. So it's kind of low key. and then we snuggle. Then we get on snuggle. Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well, I will email y'all tomorrow. Yeah, low key. Awesome. And it's hard. You know, I was like when I was a young trainer, the worst thing was that I would get shelter dogs so amped up because I was so excited to work with them. And I sometimes catch myself on video, like, especially when I'm working on choice and I'm trying to not influence a dog. And then they like pick even like the thing that would be less preferential to the owner. And I'm like, you know, like tone it down. Like, because dogs really do, like, we can key them up so quickly. And it is harder to turn the dial the other way. But that's your homework this week. And bonus points if anyone can get video of their dog chilling. There might even be prizes. All right. All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Hey.